Biden, Trump, I don't care. All I see now is two rich old men that have never walked in my shoes, that have a silver spoon in their mouth and don't deal with the problems that I deal with.
What's your position on religion?
I gave up.
The Maximus position.
Yeah, I gave up on it a long time ago.
Did you?
I was an altar boy for years.
So Catholic?
As a kid, yeah, strict Catholic. I mean, I'm talking, man, I served a mass 4 or 5 times a week. My grandmother's strict Catholic. When my dad died when I was 20, I was already down the path, but then I really started to question things. And now I look at it from a perspective of whether you're Muslim, Jewish,
Catholic,
Catholic.
Christian,
I was trying to think.
Buddhist.
Kabbalah, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. They're 99% identical. The feelings and the thoughts behind it are identical. So focus on your spirituality, not the thing that you believe in. Because at a certain point, they become businesses and they're institutionalized. You know what I mean? You got to start reconciling things that may or may not go together. I'll give you an example. The Catholics, the Borgias family. You ever heard? They were in like the 15, 1600s. Were in charge of the Catholic Church. It was a pope. Monsters, like incest, raping people, slave trade, like the worst of the worst. But God is supposed to influence the cardinals to pick a pope, and that's who he influenced. And so, like, maybe you can reconcile that by saying, well, this was all part of God's master plan. Cool. No.
Yeah.
This is a human thing, and it's a business, and it's politics, and I think God just chose to, if you believe in God, just chose to kind of stay out of it.
And anywhere where there's a high level of oppression, what I found is there's also a high level of vice abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it doesn't matter what the oppression is. It could be just strict parents who end up having kids that are just like experimental with all these drugs and alcohols.
Yeah. I watched a thing really good with Kiss, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. And one of them has a book with Polaroids of like every girl he slept with. And people are like, well, why are you so into sex? And why are you into it? And he's like, well, I watched a lot of my friends die from alcohol and drugs. Had to have something. And we figured this was like the best choice. Because you need a vice. When you're coming down from dealing with 80,000 people screaming and cheering for you and the whole deal, it's lonely when you get back to your room.
Funny you say that. So do you know who Joe Polish is?
No.
So Joe Polish is a pretty influential guy in the personal wealth creation space. One of the few guys in that space who is a genuine, loving, caring man. And so he's kind of served as a mentor to me as I was coming up. And he's a well-connected dude. And he was talking to Sheryl Crow one time, and she says, can you imagine what it's like to be on stage making love to 80,000 people
And be by yourself.
and then go back up to your hotel room and be by yourself? And she was talking about her drug addictions and the vices and all that stuff. And when he said that, I was like, holy crap, that's so true. You're getting just so much love, validation, approval. It's energy that you could feel at that point, right? We've all been to a concert. I've never been on stage at the concert. I've always been in the audience, but you could feel that energy. Imagine what that talent is feeling, and then boom, they're in their room, and it's like, what do I do?
You get it at your seminars. Like the seminars I teach wipe me out. I'm almost depressed like the few days after like a big project or a big seminar, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Are you introverted or extroverted?
Depends.
Have you taken the test?
No, but if you use the classical definition,
Yeah.
I would seem like an introvert because I like being by myself.
Yeah.
If you use what I call the true definition, I'm an extrovert, that I get energy back from being around people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because a lot of people think introverted is shy or extroverted is, I can get shy, but I can get energy from
being around people.
doing these things.
Yeah.
But it's not immediate for me. There's like a dip. So if I'm around a bunch of people and I got to put out and be Bobby Maximus, the next day I'm tired.
Yeah.
But then I get that
Yeah.
spike. Long term, it like runs my batteries.
Yeah. But it's funny you say that. You're right. When I first started speaking 11 years ago, I wasn't so self-aware, right? So you kind of realize, like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Like, the event's done, and we would run like these 1,200 person events called Fitness Business Summit for 3 days, and then it's done, and I felt this like loneliness, depression, almost like I went into a funk, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Later, only realizing that, well, you can only have 3 days of dopamine hits, and unless those dopamine hits continue, you're going to feel the crash afterwards. And that's what it was. Interestingly enough, about 2 years ago, I found myself in a green room at the Palladium, Hollywood Palladium, with some pretty well-known people. And one of these guys had just gotten off stage. I was waiting to get on stage. And the conversation was like, hey, when we're all done, where are we going after this? I was like, to eat? Because I love to eat, right? Like, no, man, like, what strip club? I was like, oh, shoot. No, I know how that unfolds.
Yeah.
I know how that unfolds, because that strip club leads to the gift of gab of, hey, why don't you just come with me to my room? Why don't you just, and then before you know it, there goes the slippery slope. And so I figured out for me, I literally speak, and then I find that if I can leave, as in like leave the venue, come back home, I'm good. I don't need to stay overnight. I don't want to stay overnight. There's literally no reason for me to stay, because I'd rather come and do my work and keep getting those dopamine hits of validation and approval for my work versus staying in a different city and trying to look for problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you look for problems, you'll find them.
It's true. Like my grandma says, nothing good happens after midnight.
Yeah.
Like I always used
That
to
is
be
so
like,
true. I just started thinking about it. Yeah, she's right.
I was used to be like, no, that's like no, but it's true. You don't. There's nowhere you need to be.
Yeah.
So I'm a little different. I like to stay after something.
Yeah.
But more of that is like after this, I'll go to the hotel. I'll sit by myself. I'll get a good steak. I'll do some self-reflection.
Yeah.
Maybe do some self-care. Maybe work out. Have a sauna. Like I like to take care of things in that regard.
How much steak do you eat? You eat a lot of steak, at least from what I see on the old IGs.
One a day.
Really?
Yep. Every day.
And is it, hey, I like steak, or is it because your body responds well to it?
Both. Okay. So I love it. So why not eat it? But then the other thing is I think it's nature's perfect food.
How so?
Protein, minerals, vitamins, like the whole package.
Yeah.
A human could live off steak forever. There might be minor health problems, but you would be okay. Yeah. There's not really another food that you can live off of. So I'm a big believer in the food chain. You can't be an herbivore because you would die. Like the human being's not meant to be that.
Right.
The carnivore comes and eats the herbivore and gets everything they need. So I eat both, but steak is like, I think it's the most nutritionally perfect thing that you can get.
Do you ever watch a show alone?
No. But I know what it is. It's like Survivor, but they stick you in like some god awful part of Canada where I'm from. And
yeah. So Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
And they put you there. Dude, right as fall is turning into winter.
Yep.
And you can bring 10 things with you.
It's hell there.
And go. Right. And then you have a satellite phone in case like you're done.
Yeah.
Rescue.
Tap out.
And so I've been kind of hooked on watching that lately. And as I'm watching that, if they can hunt and they could eat meat,
they're good.
They're good. If they can't, they're fucked. Yeah. Yep. They're screwed. How does Bobby Maximus end up in the United States, being that you're from Canada?
Okay. So I had a dream to fight in the UFC. I wanted to be the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
And I was struggling. I was a cop in Toronto, not making a ton of money. Canadian cops are paid way better than American cops in general.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't making a ton of money. Like imagine living in a city that costs the same as LA, making $73,000 or $75,000
Yeah, Toronto's not cheap.
It's hard to live.
Yeah.
And I was struggling because I was trying to work, 80 hours a week as a cop and fight professionally. And I wasn't talented and wasn't good enough to do them both. And what I mean by that, there are people who were given the gift that can wake up and they can jump high and they can run fast and they have all the things. That's not me. Like I always say, my superpower is I just hung on when other people let go. That's how I get good at stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing I've been a natural at. If you had me demonstrate some task in here, I would look terrible. You'd be like, dude, have you ever like done any athletics in your life? But I'll get good at it if I keep trying.
Sure.
And so I had to work harder than everybody. And it came to a point where it was, I don't know if I can do both. I need to find a vehicle to be able to fight full time. And so I met some people that were running a gym. I've got 3 university degrees. I worked as a cop. I've got a bunch of paramilitary type of training. Fought in the UFC. I was the perfect guy to run their business. So they offered me a job. It was a chance encounter.
Yeah.
And I took the chance, and I was terrified too. But I kind of fell back on something my dad always told me: you can always come back home. No matter where you go, you can always come back home.
Sure.
Like you're safe. Like
Yeah.
it might be humiliating if I got to move back in with my mom.
Yeah.
But I can do that. So I took a chance and came down here. And from there, the fight thing really didn't go so well, but it opened up a whole new world for me.
But you fought in at least 2 UFCs.
I did. I had 3 UFCs.
3 UFC
Yep.
matches. Okay.
UFC 53, which I lost terribly.
Yeah.
Ultimate Fight Night 5, where I won, and I won submission of the night.
Yeah.
And then UFC 62, where I lost terribly. And then a bunch of other fights in other
What year was it that you
organizations.
moved out?
2007.
Okay.
I just won a world championship in another organization.
Yeah.
It was my ticket back in the UFC, and I'm like, it's time to get some. And then it didn't turn out so well.
So you move out, and then probably within a few months, maybe a year, the economy crashes here.
Yeah, I didn't notice it though.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think because of the way I live, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't really care. I don't come from a lot. I didn't grow up rich. I didn't really have anything. So it's like, it's actually funny you say this. I was talking with my son, my 12-year-old the other day. He's like, are we rich? I go, hell yeah. He goes, what makes us rich? I go, we have a garage. And he looked just perplexed. Like, what? Yeah, I didn't have a garage growing up. I said, what do you mean? I go, well, we parked our street in the backyard and we parked it on the road. He's like, well, how big was your house? My house had to be 1 bathroom, 2 bedroom, maybe 600 square feet,
Wow.
unfinished.
Yeah.
Like, I can show you a picture of it. And it's like, that's where I grew up. So now I think, I live in a $500,000 home, and I'm like, I'm loaded.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm rich. So when I moved down here, I was happy to live in an apartment with my son and just not have a lot. I just didn't really notice. I didn't really care. I don't care what I drive. I'm not motivated by cars. I'm not motivated by, I'd say I'm not motivated by money. I want to be rich for what it brings.
Yeah.
My life and family security
Yeah.
and
Freedom,
that
security
stuff.
experiences.
But whether I stay in the Four Seasons or Red Roof Inn, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in having this experience.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
do.
if you told me I was coming here with you for a week and the closest hotel was a Red Roof Inn and food was around it, I'm good. I don't need to stay in Beverly Hills. Now, I'm staying in Beverly Hills that I'm here, but that was central to all the places I needed to go.
Right,
So
right.
convenience is the thing for me.
Yeah. Good for you. And it offers a lot of freedom and lets you do things on your term.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of these economy things, I don't understand it fully. I'll be the first to say that. But when you're talking what this stock is doing, what this stock is doing, it doesn't affect my life on a day-to-day basis. I show up, I work hard, good things will happen.
Ain't that something? You mean you take personal responsibility?
And I don't care who's in power. I don't care what the stock market says. You're responsible for yourself.
How about that?
So my number one goal, like you talk about finances, is just to pay off my house. Because then I'm safe. No one can take it away from me. If I have to, I'll go work in a Starbucks and I'll pay my property taxes that way. And I'm good.
Yeah.
And no one's coming in and I'm not like pulling my kids out of the house and being like, we lost everything.
Yeah.
So that's when I'll know I've made it, when I paid off my house.
Gotcha. How did you meet your wife? Because I think right now you guys both do the same work, and you work
Yeah.
out of your house, if I'm not mistaken,
Out of our house and a gym.
and a gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortu-
How did you meet her?
Online.
Really?
Yeah, and not through a dating site, not anything like
Yeah.
that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I guess I kind of dated myself because I'm kind of old and still think that thing's kind of weird.
How old are you?
42.
Okay,
I'm not a
40.
Match.com
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because I grew up in an era where if you liked a girl, you had to ask for a phone number.
Yeah.
You had to summon up the courage to call the house. You probably had to have a conversation with dad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
because you're not
just-
calling an iPhone or
No,
texting.
you were calling
You're
the
calling
home,
a home phone.
and there were rules. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't call after 8.
Yeah.
You had to be respectful. You couldn't, if you wanted to block somebody, you had to take it off the hook, which means you couldn't get any other calls.
That's right.
So we met online.
Oh, I love that, man. That was a walk down memory lane.
We started talking. We had mutual interests,
Yeah.
and then it became apparent that we were, well suited as two people could be for one another. Because I don't think there's such thing as a perfect marriage.
No.
And we connected, and then she moved out to Salt Lake City, and here we are.
Where did you guys meet? Meaning,
I went to her place to see her. So we started talking online. After about a month and a half, it's like, wow, there's something really here. Are we going to do this or not? So you have to meet.
Yeah.
And then we met, and it was really good. And then I flew her out to see me, and we hung out again. And then we hung out again. And then it was like, okay, you gotta move here, and let's see if this thing works for real.
you got these core values that don't really exist much in these days, and if they do, that person's kind of known as an endangered species.
Yep.
Yeah. So Bobby Maximus moves from Toronto to Utah.
Yep.
And gets this opportunity. The hope was, hey, I'm going to make it in the UFC.
Yes.
But admittedly, you're like, hey, man, I don't have the natural gifts. I've got the work ethic, and I could only go so far with the work ethic.
Yeah, and if I can add one thing to that,
Yeah.
I underestimated the value of my team. I
How
really
do you
thought
mean
I
that?
could do it anywhere. I thought, and go to Salt Lake City.
Got
Some
it.
great
You mean
fighters
the team
there.
that you had in Toronto?
Yes, there's some great people there.
Sure.
I can make this work. But there's something unsaid that happens. There's something that's impossible to define, the synergy that happens between a coach and a player. And so you may be the greatest coach in the world.
Yeah.
And this guy over here might be another one of the greatest coaches in the world. But for some reason, I really resonate with you and work well with you, and with him, I'm a complete failure. And it's something that's impossible to define. It's a chemistry.
Yeah.
It's a mystery of the universe, if you will.
Sure.
And so I really missed my people. And I just couldn't, I just fizzled.
That's interesting.
And
So
by the time I realized that, it was too late to move back.
I was going to say, so in hindsight, looking back, if you stayed, you think you would have developed
Yes.
better
Yep.
as a fighter?
Yep. I'm not saying I would be George St. Pierre or
Sure.
Anderson Silva or somebody like that, but I would have developed a lot better as a fighter, yes.
Interesting. And I have to agree with you there. Like the coach-client or the coach-athlete relationship is something that's very unique and
Yeah.
special.
And I don't have an ego about it. There are people I'm like, I'm not the coach for you. It's not that I'm not good at what I do. We're speaking a different language. We talked about religion earlier. My dad used to tell me this theory he had that when the Tower of Babel fell, it wasn't actually languages. It was different religions that got scattered. So if an alien came down to the earth and looked at Muslims versus Christians, they're 99% identical. In fact, Muslims, Jews, and Christians share the first 5 books of the Bible. It's like the exact same history.
Yeah.
But now there's all these, these differences. Well, there's some type of coach speak that happens.
Yeah.
Where I'm just not the coach for you. You can go find somebody else, and that's okay.
Yeah. We're going to come back to religion in just a moment because I've got some interesting stuff to ask you about that. Let's stick on the topic of coaching for a moment.
Okay.
Now you coach people
Yep.
at different levels.
Yes.
I mean, they could be athletes. They could be, I guess, military forces
Yep.
at the elite level. Who's your ideal client?
I don't really have one in terms of demographic, socioeconomic status, religion, color of their skin. I don't care. It's a person who has a deep willingness to get better. And I don't care if that person's broke. I don't care if they're rich. It's a person that really wants to do the work and change their life. I don't have time in my life anymore to deal with people that aren't committed. I would rather work with a committed person for free than a non-committed person for a bunch of money.
That's interesting. When did you have that epiphany? Is it something you carried all the time with you?
Yeah, I think so. I always knew it, but I think I wasn't confident enough as a youth to be able to voice it or to be able to act on it because
Yeah.
there is this allure of money.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you I'm not attracted to money. I want hopefully one day to have an Amex Black card. I want to be able to go into the dealership and man, I just got a truck and it's like I'm trying to decide like whether I can afford a $500 or $600 payment. Like, I don't want to be in that position. I want to go in cash and say, give me that truck. This is your MSP, and this is what we're going to do, and be done. So I want that. But as I got older, people caused me frustration that I was working with. People let me down. I was putting a lot of effort into people that didn't either value it or didn't, because I was doing things chasing a paycheck. And so I decided, you know what? I don't need that. I've never needed that. So I only want to work with people that are committed.
Good for you. Good for you. And to that point, you're a very colorful character. Like, I actually found out about you through Craig Ballantyne. Do you know who Craig is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Through Craig Ballantyne. He would periodically, and he was a client of mine who later became a business partner and dear friend. And so for years I'd been subscribed to his email newsletter. And randomly there would be like a Bobby Maximus law or rule, right? And I'm like, who the hell is Bobby Maximus? And soon you're like, let me do a little search. Then of course, as I find you, you're a very polarizing character. And to me, that's an attractive trait in someone because they know what they want, they know what they don't want, they know who they are for, and they know who they are against. And I found that about you, and I was like, all right, I really like this character. Were you always this polarizing and opinionated, or did you get comfortable in your own skin?
Yes and no. And again, I struggled with it as a youth. And as I got older, I got more confident. And so I was actually telling the story the other day. When I was in the UFC and people interviewed me, I gave the answer I thought I was supposed to give. You see, I grew up watching Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky in Canada he's God. But he's always polite. He's always got a suit on. He always says please. He always says thank you. He embraces Canadian culture and just the Canadian way. I mean, you could punch me in the face and I want to say sorry. That's what Canadians do.
Sure.
And so someone would interview me and say, how do you feel about being in the UFC? I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm happy. There's so many other people that deserve it. I'm just really lucky. Like I gave what I thought the humble right answer was. Not necessarily the truthful answer that I would give with my friends or when I was unbound by what other people would say and what other people would think.
Political correctness, social correctness.
Exactly. And I think everybody's like that to a degree. I know people who, and I was this person who, my nightmare is to sing karaoke at a bar. I would not be able to do it. I would freeze up. I would cry. I would be a mess. But if you and I are here with a bunch of people joking around and I'm comfortable, I can be the life of the party.
Sure.
It's like situational shyness or everyone's comfortable in their own thing. Just like there's kids who are funny and precocious at home, you send them to school and they're shy and they don't talk. And that's how I used to be, like shy and worried about what other people would say and think. And as I've gotten older, I've got a bit more curmudgeon-y and I've learned to let that go. But it's taken a lot of self-work. When I say learn, I've had to do a lot of self-work. I'll actually show you something funny.
Yeah.
If someone's just filming this and we're asking questions back and forth, I think I'm really captivating and really good on camera and engaging. The minute I do this and have to talk into it, it seems contrived and I lose it. And so I would literally sit in front of my phone and record video after video after video to practice that ability.
Fascinating.
So you have to learn to be that person. And then you have to get up and speak in front of 10 people, and then 20, and then 50. And then something happens, you're in front of 1,000 people, and then it's like you're looking through the toilet paper tubes again, and it's right back to square one.
Yeah. So was it getting older, or was it the self-work? In other words, could someone in their 20s do the self-work and get that comfortable in their skin?
They could, but I think the ability to do self-work comes from maturity.
Yeah.
And at 21 or 22 or 23, as much as I would like to tell you I was more mature than your average person, I don't think if I was being ruthless with myself and honest, I had the maturity to do it and to work on it the way you need to work on it. You can be a great coach and give me all kinds of exercises to do, but I have to be willing to do them.
Right.
And I don't think I was ready at that age.
Yeah. And most aren't. I mean, to the defense of humanity, most aren't, because my wife and I were talking about this the other day. Your first 20 years someone pretty much told you how you're supposed to be.
Yep.
Think about this. You're born and like, oh, Bobby likes blue. He's a little boy, so we're going to put blue on him. And oh, look, he fell, so he's clumsy. And oh, look, he's a little chunky, therefore he's big boned or slow metabolism. You get labeled, right? And then, oh, Bedros isn't doing good in school. He must be a little slower. You're just not as smart as everybody else. And so that first decade or two is really you being programmed.
Yep.
The next decade or two, 30 and 40, are you trying to unprogram and figure out
Which,
who
by the
am I?
way, if I can add, is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because you see people, you grew up in an abusive household, like you don't just let go of that. It's a lifelong battle. It's a lifelong thing to deal with however you were programmed.
Yeah. Like I was fortunate enough where, I say fortunate because at the age of 38, I had this massive panic attack, which, Bobby, I thought it was the end of the world for me. I thought I was having a heart attack, right? Because I had never had a panic attack. And so you hear about people having panic attacks and you're like, all right. But until you have one and you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, holy 38 and this is how I die. Because I'm thinking it's a heart attack. Well, when I didn't die and that feeling went away, I'm just left in a sweaty puddle and like, what the hell just happened? I was like, oh, shoot. So the next day I had it again and again and again and ultimately went to a doctor and he's like, hey man, how's your stress levels? And before I could say anything, my wife was with me. She's like, he's stressed out. He can't sleep at night. He drinks half a bottle of NyQuil and takes Vicodin to fall asleep. And he's like, oh, shoot. All right, well, we're going to have to put you on Xanax. So they put me on Xanax, and that certainly took my stress away because you're just brain dead. It also took away any creativity, any desire to work. And so after 2 weeks of this, I'm like, Doc, if this continues, like we're going to be destitute. I have work to do, and I've got employees, and I can't work this way. So he goes, you got to then, to get off Xanax, you're going to want to still deal with this anxiety you're having, panic attacks. So try talk therapy. Dude, what was supposed to be like 3 or 4 weeks of talk therapy just to help me cope with anxiety and stress, etc., ended up being 16 months of working with a therapist, and the real self-work happened of like all the traumatic events that happened to me as a kid, of being molested as a kid in Armenia, and then when we came to the United States, being bullied and beat up in Section 8 housing, and all those things you kind of just store away in the darkest parts of your mind. And then all the family stuff, right? The family stuff. And our families mean well. They just dump like, oh, you're not that smart. Oh, you're clumsy. Oh, you're fat. Oh, you're chunky. And so you kind of walk around feeling, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable. And dude, it was the best experience for me to have that pivotal life moment of an anxiety attack. Did something happen for you to start doing the self-work, or was it just I got more mature and started to do the self-work?
My first son was born. That's an easy one for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had to change. I couldn't be who I was. So I'll tell you a quick story. My dad died when I was 20. Ruined me, man.
I
was a mess. I was bullied really heavily till I was 15 years old. Kids drew on my face with marker every day, wedgied me. I used to have to wash it off before I get home because if my mom saw, she'd tell the other parents, and you know what happens then. I'm going to get it twice as worse. And then these 4 kids surrounded me in gym class, beat me up, broke my collarbone. Never wanted it to happen again. So I started wrestling because I needed to defend myself. I lost every match my first year, probably 40 matches. Second year, I won 1 match out of 40. Decided, I don't know how to get better at this. Maybe I need to get stronger. Limped myself into the weight room. There was a couple of people there I probably owe a thank you call to at some point in my life that helped me, just because they didn't care to bully me. So they showed me what to do. I got pinned under a 45-pound barbell and someone rescued me. Kid's name was Mike Xavier, actually. And so started working out and I started getting better. But the whole time I never really felt like I fit in. I mean, I had friends, but my friends were part of the losers club, right? Like geeks hang out together. And
would you classify yourself as a geek?
Oh, hell yeah.
Really?
And now I'm proud of it. Back then it wasn't so cool.
Right. It's not cool and sexy.
And so like when I say I'm a geek, I love Lord of the Rings. I build Legos. I'm an avid Magic the Gathering player. Like I am as nerdy gets.
Sure.
But I hung out with my dad and his friends a lot. And when my dad died, it's like I lost my whole world and I lost my best friend. And I was unprepared at 20 years old to even begin dealing with that. And then so the way I chose to deal with it is I was angry. Once the grief went away, and once the sadness, a pivotal talk I actually had, I spent the first couple of months feeling real sorry for myself. And a very good friend of mine said, you need to come to lunch. I said, okay. So we went to lunch. And he goes, boo-hoo, your dad died. Time to grow up and handle your business. And I was like, oh, the He goes, you came here to wrestle. We have a chance to win a national championship. Are you in or not? I'm in. And from there, it was girls fighting everybody that would move. Like if I was in a bar and you looked at me funny, we were fighting. Like I was just living that life.
And is this because you had such a chip on your shoulder from everything that built up, from the wedgies, the markers, the bullying and all that?
And I think my dad dying just, that was the big one.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about religion, but someone asked me who I was mad at. And I said, God. They said, do you really hate God? And I said, if there was a way to kill that motherfucker, I would. Like I was, like you can see it in my face right now. I was livid with anger. And the worst part is you're fighting a spirit at that point.
Right.
It's not like God's in front of me, and it's not like I can, like, even if I pray, he comes and talks to me. Like you're fighting a ghost. Mm-hmm. So you're throwing punches at the air. Do you know what I mean? Like even when you punch a wall, you get the satisfaction of breaking something, or it breaks you.
Right.
There's nothing to hit. You're fighting shadows. And so I was angry. Mm. So I was in a lot of street fights. My mother-in-law asked me a little bit ago, how many street fights you been in? I don't know, a couple hundred. She was like, what? I would fight. And for stupid stuff, you call me son, I will punch you in the face. Don't fucking son me. You're not my dad. Like stuff that people just,
right.
And there's a host of behaviors that people get that are meant to bully you, and they're diminutive, but they never get checked. That's like the son word, the pal. Hey, chief. You know what I'm talking about when people are trying to demean you.
Yeah.
Or boy, that's another one. Don't fucking call me boy. You're going to get it. There's a couple of people in my life.
Belittling terms.
Yes.
Where they're not outright coming out and saying, hey, off. But it's almost worse to say, hey, pal. Like you're not worthy of even acknowledging your name.
Kind of like when a girl goes, oh, that's a nice dress. She wasn't complimenting you.
Right.
So those belittling things would set me off.
So I am normal, or I'm equally as because that does irritate me.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because I imagine it irritates a lot of people. And so you would just haul off and start whacking people because you were angry.
I wouldn't throw the first punch, but I would make them punch me. I would not. I learned as a police officer, every communication situation you have, you can advance or you can diffuse it. And the power is completely in your hands. Verbiage is everything. I would advance the of that. So if you call
stir
me,
the pot.
You call me boy, you call me son, I wouldn't walk away, which I could. What did you call me? You're not my dad. Or one of my favorite lines ever for Bloodsport, hey, pal, I'm not your pal.
What a great movie.
Dick face.
Yeah.
Like, you can say stuff back.
Yeah.
And so I would escalate it and then be in a position where I didn't have to throw the first punch. And then in my mind, I was justified in putting a beat down on somebody.
So clearly this was before you were a cop. I mean, you're not in Toronto anymore.
No. It was both.
Okay.
It was both.
Okay.
So but as
you're not rolling up on a situation as a police officer like this is you're off duty. You know what? Who gives a?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
not going to try and dig you into
it doesn't matter. I was off duty.
Yeah.
But even when I was a cop, there was stuff like I'll tell you. I got a complaint one time because a dude poked me in the chest and goes, "I pay your salary." And I'm like, oh, man, you just assaulted the police. You're going to get it. Like, just, all right, now this is happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was a lot more professional as a cop. I was highly accommodated. I treated everyone fairly.
Sure.
I don't have a discriminatory bone in my body. Like, one thing I'm proud of in 5 years as a cop, I never got one racial complaint. I never got one complaint of, like, doing the wrong thing. So that was good. But I got in trouble for my mouth.
Yeah.
That was a standard. But when my son was born, I had a moment where he can feel my energy. He feeds off me. I need to let go of this all. And I just let it go.
Yeah.
Like he deserves better than to be raised in a angry household.
So would you say you were an angry young man?
No. Probably not till my dad died. And then I was angry.
Yeah.
But I didn't, it's so funny the way people classify anger. I probably didn't seem angry. You can be happy. You can be funny. You can be really kind. You can be polite, but still be harboring a lot of internal anger. And I think that's what really people up. I think you're better off to be outwardly, you know what kills you? If you're a stress eater, you shove it all down into your stomach and don't let anyone see it. I think the people that let it go through some catharsis are far better off.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but when my son was born, that was when like I need to make some change. I can't be fighting people. And there was another moment, because when I say I just let it go, it wasn't quite that simple. He was 2 years old. We were in Costco, and there was the kid running around. And there was like this family there, and they were kind of meek. Like you could tell they were shy, meek. And a dude almost ran, a grown man almost ran their kid over with a cart. And he started screaming at this family, "Get this kid out of here." And I stood in front of him. I go, "Talk like that to my kid." Like it was like, and then my kid, who was like 2 or 3, was like, "Dad, let's go fight." Like he was, and I'm like, he cannot, I cannot fight the world. I can't go to jail. He can't see me behave like this.
Right.
Like I got chill.
Yeah, yeah. So was there a chip on your shoulder back then?
Oh, I used to have a saying, "I'm well balanced. I have a chip on both shoulders."
Do you think you have a chip on your shoulder now?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I've learned to harness it though, because I still think it's valuable. I actually, you know the term overcorrecting?
Mm-hmm.
So I went from anger to like calm and peace and be nice to
Bobby
everybody.
Maximus, the Zen monk.
Don't try to offend anybody online. Don't try to hurt anybody's feelings.
How many hours did that last?
Oh, no, it lasted a long time.
Did it really?
And then out of, and I'd credit C.T. Fletcher for this. He's a mentor of mine and a very dear friend. I don't know if you know C.T., but
I know of him.
He's an
I've never
amazing
met him.
dude.
Yeah.
And he talking, working with him, becoming his friend, noticing what he does. Eventually, I'm like, I can be myself, and if you're offended, I don't care.
Yeah.
Not out of mean, not being mean. I am violently against racism. I am violently against homophobia. I am violently against misogyny. I'm violent against any form of those things and bigotry. So I would care if I hurt your feelings by saying something that hurt. I would apologize, and I'm not going to be like you're alone with your feelings. But if I want to post something on my Instagram that has nothing to do with you and you get upset, that's really not my problem. And I've learned to be confident enough to. So I overcorrected, and now I've went back to like a healthy middle ground. I think.
So it's like a pendulum that swings and finds its healthy ground.
Yeah, and it happens in this country: right, left.
Yeah.
We just need to be in the middle, guys.
Yep.
We can get along.
That one simple thing would have corrected all of 2020.
Oh, the last how many ever years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be in the middle.
The pendulum was on either end on every topic, from the virus to the racial issues to the cop issues to the potato head to what was that little character, Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, all of them.
Just bring it right down the middle.
We need somebody in power. I always say this, like slightly like left of center or slightly right of center. I don't care who at that point, but just someone that is like just slightly right or left. And
I'm curious, like if Bobby Maximus can go, you know what, here's who I think would be great as president of the United States. Is there a celebrity, a character, someone that we might know of that?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
Did you see how he hinted to that?
Yeah, I want him to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's a part of me that's old school that believes politicians should be politicians. You know what I mean?
Really?
But there is a divide here.
Bro, you see what's happening in Canada with the politician who's a lifelong politician.
Yes.
Just it all up.
Yeah, I see. But that's like, I think, how we've been programmed. And also, I'd like to believe in the greater good of humanity. The politicians all have our better interests at stake. The reality is, Biden, Trump, I don't care. All I see now is two rich old men that have never walked in my shoes, that have a silver spoon in their mouth and don't deal with the problems that I deal with. Like Joe Biden's kid gets in a car accident, he's got to pay some insurance. He just calls up and puts it on his black card or whatever. That ain't me. I got to talk to like the financial support people, or I got to like put it on a layaway plan or whatever that thing's called to pay my bills. That's who I want in charge. I want like a plumber to get appointed, like a sound person. But I think The Rock, because he calls his company $7 Productions, was when he was 23 had $7 in his pocket, had to go home, and I think he's in touch with the common man. I think he gets it.
Yeah, he still is.
He's also lived on the rich side. I think because he saw his success later in life, I think he'd be able to relate to a lot of people. And he has the qualities that I admire of both parties, if you will.
Yeah.
He can be rough. He can punch you in the face. He can kick ass when it's time to kick ass. But he's also he's really all-inclusive and friendly and well-spoken.
Who would be his vice president?
Man, that's tough. That's tough. I want to say Kevin Hart because they're just so great together. But that's you know what I mean? I actually don't know.
I'm asking because I've thought through this.
Yeah,
and in my head, I was like, okay, The Rock is president. And truly, for all the reasons you just mentioned, I think you and I are about to solve like
humanity's problems, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but maybe at least the United States. But we may very well solve the humanity's problems.
Yeah.
The problem with politics is because if you're a career politician, all you do during your term is try and get reelected for the next term. Yeah. So you're just kind of making promises, and the next few years we're going to do this, next few years we're going to do this, and you've never really had a business or a job where you had to balance money coming in versus money going out. And when you look at a country that's in massive debt, like you would never keep your family's household in debt. The idea is I'm going to spend less than I make so that I can have some reserve to go buy that truck and put money away for a rainy day. Well, The Rock has had to have a business. He had to have like whatever he got to wrestle. He like, this is what you're living on for the next few months or weeks until you wrestle again, like when he first started, right? Now, and so he had to live that way, and he knows how to balance. Like he didn't come from a dad who's a politician, whose dad was a politician, whose dad.
You answered my question for me. Danny Garcia. She's the one that runs The Rock stuff.
His right hand.
Like The Rock's smart.
Actually, his former wife.
Yeah, The Rock's smart. The Rock knows what's up. She's brains, man.
Yeah.
She runs that. Like if there was a person, and Danny, if you're listening, come find me. If there was a person I could hire to get me to the next level, it would be her.
Yeah. She's a gangster. She's a gangster.
You can run the country. My secondary choices would be either Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA.
Yeah.
Because I really like the way they've tackled social issues and their business and the pandemic, the whole thing. Or you're talking about getting this country out of financial problems. Let's just put Warren Buffett in charge. I don't know about his political views, but that man, he knows about money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's make him in charge.
It's funny. So you and I agree on The Rock. Well, I think Danny Garcia is a gangster. I just think she would come with The Rock because anything The Rock does, she owns part of. So she would be like part of his cabinet, right? Mm-hmm. Or whoever the group of. I
want to say, in fairness, that might be the opposite way around. Like she comes with him, but she might be making the decisions, and he's coming.
Oh, bro, don't you think like probably other than Trump, I think every president there was like a group of people helping them make a decision, right? They're just a good figurehead. And probably have like some trustworthy element to them where it's like, you know what, I sleep better at night knowing that guy has silver hair and he's awake thinking about us, which is a lot of but whatever. But yeah, so she would, and I would be totally okay with that. And especially it coming from The Rock where like, hey, we're going to do this. Like, oh, you've done this, you've done that, you've done the ice cream, you've done the tequila, you've done the movies, the wrestling, the sports, game shows. Go get it. It all works. Go for it.
Go get it, man.
But here's who I think should be the vice president. You ready for this? Jocko.
You like him?
I'm going to tell you why. I think we also need someone who comes from a military background who has a level head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think them two together with a strong cabinet would do a lot of fixing.
Yeah.
Because The Rock and Danny would run it as a business. And then Jocko would be like, all right, we're not going to be stupid trying to attack and kill and bomb everybody, but we are going to protect our country and put its citizens first.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be a bad choice.
Yeah. Just my opinion.
The only thing I would hesitate to make me say that, and that caveat also applies to Danny, The Rock, whoever. I don't know Jocko personally. I only know Jocko, the character.
Sure.
And so I would want a little bit more information on like, okay, Jocko, how are you going to run this on a day-to-day basis? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I say The Rock, I don't want The Rock at volume 10.
Right.
pie eating, kiss stealing, like whatever he says,
yeah.
I want Dwayne.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I want him on a 3, not a 10.
You want the fanny pack wearing Rock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I got you.
But there's something about that like when I talk about I want my politicians to be like, man, I want you wearing a suit. I want you like saying please, saying thank you. I don't want to hear the F-bombs. I don't want you trolling people.
Right.
Like there's no reason to go on Twitter and fire some people up because you're a troll. Like I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that doesn't represent the citizens well.
No.
Because I would not have said that. I would not have said that. Can someone shut that volume down?
It makes things decisive or divisive.
Divisive.
And I don't think that's a good thing either way, on the left or the right. So
Yeah.
I've always said this. I can't. I might agree with a certain person's policies, but I don't like the show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So like I wasn't a fan of Trump, but equally I wasn't a fan of AOC either. It's
Yeah.
too much for me. Like, can't we just, again, can we de-escalate, or are we going to fire some people up? And I was good at firing people up. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Not when you're in charge of the country.
There you go, making too much sense.
You know what I
Too much
mean?
sense. I do. What is that company that you order your steak from again?
New York prime beef.
So one of the times, I think you gave him a shout out, and you probably do it a lot, but I think one of the times I caught it and I ordered it, and this isn't any paid thing. It was pretty damn good steak.
Yeah, they make good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm a steak connoisseur.
Yeah, I love steak.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for that. I just wanted to give them a shout out because good steak is sometimes hard to come by.
Yeah.
Although we had good steak in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's right, you were there too, at this restaurant, Parker's Bistro in Sioux Falls. If y'all in Sioux Falls and you go there and they got this Wagyu steak that they crust up the outside and it's nice and crusty and salty, and it's ooh. My Pavlovian
Good.
triggers are going off right now. And then they slice it into medallions. But anyway, it was delicious, spectacular. You would need about 9 of them because I ate one, and I was like, I could eat one more. But I've seen the volume that you eat, and I think you would need about 9 of those.
Depends on the time of day, but yeah.
So when you eat those big giant steaks with the pat of butter on it,
Yep.
what time is that typically?
8, 9 at night.
Okay.
It's really the only time I eat big during the day. Because if I eat big for lunch or breakfast, I'm
Yeah.
shut down for the day and I can't think.
Really?
Like it's literally and figurative. You're always better to be a little bit hungry. Hungry to make money, hungry to succeed.
I agree
A
with
little bit of a hungry belly. I eat a big meal, I'm out. So I've ate very sparsely today.
Yeah.
So I can be me here,
Sure.
and then I'll eat big after.
What is your normal daily calorie intake?
I don't really count, but somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day.
Okay, that's substantial.
Yeah. But spread out through the day.
Yeah. 6 meals or less?
Somewhere between 5 and 8 feedings, I call them. I don't call them traditional meals anymore. They're just feedings.
How much protein you get in?
Again, I don't count, but I'm a pretty regular creature of habit.
Yeah.
A
If you were to guess.
gram per pound a day, 250 to
Okay.
300 grams a day.
What do you weigh?
238 pounds.
You're a whole lot of man, dude.
Yeah, I'm light though. I've lost.
You've definitely
25
gotten leaner since I
Yeah, I've
saw
lost a
you
lot of weight.
at that dinner.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Purposely, but I'm lighter.
What's the purpose?
Movies.
Right.
So I got a call from a director, wrote a part for me in a movie. This is my chance. So I got to look good. Everything I do at 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not always the most successful guy, but it's important to me to be 100%. And if I'm going to be on camera with my on screen with my shirt off,
Yeah.
I want to look good. Now, there's another part of that. My dad died at 49 of a heart attack. You're not a doctor, are you?
I'm not.
Okay, but you're going to help me. My grandma had a heart attack. My grandpa died of a heart attack.
Okay.
My dad at 49 had a heart
I
attack.
see the dots connecting
Okay,
here.
his 2 brothers have both had major coronary incidents. My brother is
Good
40,
Lord.
just had a pacemaker put in. What's my cause of death?
Probably going to be something with
Yes.
coronary. Yeah.
Now, here's the next thing. You ever see jacked old people?
No.
No, you die. You see skinny old people.
Yeah.
But the bigger you are, the more wear and tear on your kidneys, the more on your
Yeah.
liver, the more on your heart. Like me and a 123-pound person, like essentially we have the same size heart. but now my heart's fueling twice.
Sure.
So we take all the weights from your beautiful gym here and put them in the back of your truck, and there's thousands of pounds of weight.
That
Drive
engine's
around
working
like for
harder.
a couple of months and watch what happens.
a good point.
Not only engine, transmission, brake,
Tires,
So
brakes,
I'm starting
yeah, right.
to transition into like, I don't need to be 267.
Right.
I don't need to be that big because I think it's a one-way ticket to an early death. So I'm starting to become more preoccupied with health, wellness, feeling good. And I don't feel good stuffing myself full of food, fighting to gain weight. I think I hit the top of my limit. I've never taken a steroid. I'm violently against them.
Yeah.
Violently against
Would you ever, if you're like, oh, I think I need it?
Nope. TRT, I'm violently against.
Why?
I think it's cheating.
How so?
Until you have exhausted every opportunity to do it on your own, I think it's cheating. Now, I also think the caveat to that is maybe at 65, maybe at 70.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it gets to a point where you're like, all right, I think I need.
Yeah, I might change my mind on it, but I think people do it way too early.
Oh, that's
would be why I'm against it. I don't need it at 42
you
years
see
old.
young kids doing that at like 17.
Yeah.
And,
So for me, if I went to the doctor, he said your testosterone needs to go up. Okay, I need more sleep. I need more recovery. I need more stress relief. I need to eat better food. I would exhaust those things.
yeah, all the natural
First,
attempts.
not do the lazy pharmaceutical
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I also take great pride in being self-made. Not the best in the world, but everything I've ever done has been off my back with no help. And I think there's a psychological benefit that comes from that.
Yeah. Do you think you're getting curmudgeonier as you get older?
Yeah.
Do you like that? I love it. I love it.
I kind of like it. You know what I mean? Like, and I grew
It's
up
liberating.
Yeah. I grew up watching Sanford and Son.
Yes.
And I want to be like Red Fox.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Yeah. He just
You
fresh
dumb
out.
like
Yeah.
just like, yep.
Yeah. That's a great example, actually. Sanford and Son. That was a great show.
Yeah.
To this point. So, your training that I see on social media. I mean, you're not messing around. You're moving some serious weight.
Yep.
So how has your training changed at 42 with a goal of getting healthier versus, let's say, maybe at 32, where it was all about, I'm going to be bigger and thicker?
Yeah. So I think
Has it changed? Or has it mainly been diet that has changed that variable?
no, training has changed for sure. I have this thing now that everything's a tune-up and a test drive, and you just can't test drive your car every single day that you go into the gym.
Okay,
'Cause you're
explain
gonna-
that. Everything's a tune-up and a test drive.
And you cannot test drive every day.
Got it, because you're just going
So
to blow up.
Yeah. So think about NASCAR.
Yeah.
NASCAR, you're test driving to the point. You need pit stops. You need like damn oil changes and tire changes
Right.
in the middle of a race.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a cute little Prius and you drive to and from work 5 miles every day slow, that thing lasts forever. I got one suit. Like I can't, I don't want a hip replacement. I don't want a knee replacement. And from fighting, I have all kinds of injuries. I had a tooth stuck in my hand here. I have a blown ACL, blown LCL. I punctured a lung. I have a broken rib. I broke my jaw. I've had multiple serious concussions. I broke a collarbone. I've had shoulder surgery. I've broken my hand. I had bursitis really bad in my elbow. It actually got MRSA. I almost died from that. I don't need any more problems. So I want to do more tune-ups and test drives.
Gotcha.
The other thing is I used to do stupid. I'm going to do 1,000 burpees for time now. For me now, every workout I do has to have a goal. I have to be able to relate in my head. How is this making me better? And if I can't, I'm not allowed to do it.
Good for you. Again, the beauty of maturity and
Yes.
maturity in time gives you wisdom.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. That's what I found. At 46, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that thing. And it's funny. So a lot of the project instructors, we just had a project class about 3 weeks ago now. And we have guys who have graduated from a previous class come out, 4 or 5 of them, to be junior instructors, help out with setting up the next evolution, et cetera. And so the Sunday before the project starts, they're like, hey, we're going to meet up in Huntington Beach at the dog beach there, and we're going to run. I'm like, oh, cool. In my 20s, even in my mid-30s, I would have done that. After having 2 ACL reconstructions and being 46, I'm like, fellas, I'm going to meet you at the restaurant when you guys are done.
Yeah.
And then when I asked them how'd it go, because It's a dog beach. So you're running on the beach. Dogs have predatory response, which means they're going to chase you. I'm not worried about being bit. I'm going to try and juke a dog at 223 pounds. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I go, hey, how was the run? They're like, well, almost blew out my knee. Every single one of them almost blew out my knee when a dog came running at me. Like, yeah, that's why I didn't go.
Yeah, no thanks.
But the old me would have done that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I got nothing to prove to anybody anymore.
Bingo.
I don't need you. We're going to work out today. If you don't think I'm that fit, that's cool. I don't care.
Bingo. Yeah. So let's go back to religion for a moment. Obviously, growing up in a Catholic home, heavily influenced by faith, religion. Now you the pendulum you said has swung the other way.
Yep.
You believe there's a heaven or a hell?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
So when your son asks you, hey, Dad, where do we go after we die? What happens?
He's never asked me that. But
here's a good time to role play, Bobby.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell him nobody knows.
Yeah.
You're going to find out when you die. You're either going to die and it's over, the lights are out, and you don't know any better, or you're going somewhere that you're going to go. Just in case there is a heaven or a hell, you better make sure you act right. And on top of that, don't even worry about that. Act right for yourself. Be a good person. Because I do feel there is an immortality in how you're remembered.
Yeah.
You know, people won't remember the work you do with Project. Like, you've touched some people's lives, and that may echo through generations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to like conceptualize, but you change a dad's life, and he changes his son's life, and then that son changes another life. Man, that's your legacy. That, to me, is why it's important to live right, but not necessarily some thought of. And religion, it's a scary thing. I was talking about Mormons earlier, but man, I could just lambaste the Catholics too. Jewish people, Muslims, like when organizations get involved, it becomes political, and so you just have to be as good of a person as you can be.
Have you read anything from Joseph Campbell?
I have not, but I've seen his quotes very recently on social media, a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of interested in this guy.
Yeah. When you decide that you just want to maybe listen to something with great depth, I wouldn't say to read his book, The Power of Myth. It's one of those ones where you have to go over 20 times. But if you listen to The Power of Myth, which is really him being interviewed on the topics from his book, very powerful. And he kind of deconstructs where religion comes from. And I'll just leave it at that for both the audience and both for you. But I'm a believer that there is no heaven or hell, that we create our heaven or hell here. And what I've always kind of wondered was, all right, maybe there was this dude named Jesus. I'm sure he was a solid cat and lived a righteous life. But I think he was supposed to be the example of dying on the cross and coming back as a higher version of himself, right? As God, as the Spirit. That was supposed to personify us, meaning we're supposed to die of our human animal and come back as a human being, which is a process that we go through as adults as we kind of realize, oh, you know what? Maybe I can be less emotionally reactive. Maybe I can be a better human. I can make better decisions. I can think at a higher level and higher capacity and serve others. And you all of a sudden die to your human animal that is impulsive, that is maybe driven by wants, not necessarily needs, and kind of find consciousness, which is a really cool way that Joseph Campbell describes it. And what's really cool about that is he was the first to talk about the hero's journey, which was then what Star Wars was all based on. In fact, George Lucas was so fascinated by his whole theory of the hero's journey, he created Star Wars because of that. But anyway, great book. Just thought I'd share that with you. Before we close this thing off, I was so excited for you when you're like, hey man, I'm in a movie. By the way, when does that movie come out?
Most likely the fall of 2021. There's some moving parts with like, does Netflix buy it? Does Lionsgate buy it? Does Amazon buy it? There's some moving parts,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
fall 2021.
So I'm excited to see it because of someone who's invested in you in terms of a friendship, a relationship that's building. Was this your first time acting?
Kind of, yes. I was in a reality show before, The Ultimate
Okay.
Fighter 2.
Yeah.
I did a couple of commercials back in the day trying to make something of it, but this is my first genuine foray into
Yeah.
real acting.
What did you think of it?
It was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I shouldn't say that.
It
I
looks
knew it was
difficult.
going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But now that I've done it, I have a newfound respect for what people go through.
Was it like kind of like Arnold or Sylvester, where there's less lines and more actions, like "get in the chopper," or was there like actual dialogue?
Oh, no, I'm not like Jude Law or Matthew McConaughey or like, Denzel.
Yeah.
I'm not that. There's less lines and more me being me.
Yeah, gotcha. What's the premise? Can I ask the premise?
Yeah, so the premise is there's a drug dealer, and a plane of his goes down. There's $100 million on the plane. A guiding person finds it, who happens to be an ex-Navy SEAL. He takes the money, and then I get called in to get the money back
For the drug dealer.
bad guy.
For the bad
Oh
guy.
yeah, so I'm a
Okay, so you're a villain.
I'm a badass.
Gotcha. I can't wait. Yeah. So is this something you want to do more of?
I would love to.
Yeah?
Absolutely love to. And I think there's a certain, I really have a genuine desire to help other people. Because I've been helped by a lot of people who I don't know why they helped me. Maybe they saw something in me that I didn't see.
Yeah.
Just kindness. And I really consider myself to be on this amazing journey. And I wouldn't be here without the love or mentorship or respect of some other people who just valued me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when I met CT, and I'm thinking about this because I was just at his place Saturday. We were hanging out and talking, but he showed interest in me when he probably shouldn't have. There was nothing to gain from it. There was nothing, and he just was always kind to me. So I remember that, and I want to pay it forward. That's how I think you respect, honor your mentors, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to help as many people as possible, and if I want to help a lot of people, I got to get rich and famous. I don't have any bones about it, because
Good for
I can
you.
help a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if it's acting, it's acting. If it's being the best trainer on the planet, it's being the best damn trainer on the planet. If it's business, maybe it's business. But I would love. I have a number in mind of what I need to get to financially to be okay for myself, and it's not very much. And once I have that, then I can just help all kinds of people.
Yeah. Well, fame and fortune are accelerators. I found they'll accelerate bad things. Like if someone's got a coke habit, with fame and fortune, you're just going to get access to better coke and ultimately, can yourself. Or fame and fortune can definitely help you take a message of charity, of a cause, or something, and spread it.
I mean, think about if you were Jeff Bezos right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling him to give all his money away. Like, people are like, he should just, he shouldn't. That's his business. But how many people could he help? And not even think about it.
Feel it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And not even feel it. And I'm not talking people that don't really need the help. Like, I'm really against this idea of corporate welfare. Like, you're making $3 billion a year. You don't need help. There's a lot of people who genuinely need help in this country. And so the amount of people he could help, like me, when I was in university and working 3 jobs because I didn't have a dad and had to do it myself. You know how grateful I would have been for just a couple of $1,000s?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It would have changed my life. It would have helped me a lot. And so I would love to I actually have this dream of, I want to, when I have the money I need, and I want to set it up in an endowment. And off the interest of that, I want to run a facility where I can train people, and I train deserving people for free. And I train them in sports psychology, I train them in working out. I train kind of like what you do with the project, teach them how to be better people, but it's not something you can pay to get into, because I don't want that to be a determining factor. That the fact that you work for Goldman Sachs or you work for wherever and you can afford my rate, I want to go find that 15-year-old kid that has nothing.
Yeah.
Whose dad's supporting him, his dad's working 60 hours a week in a goddamn mill to just buy him some new cleats for football. That's the kid I want to help.
Yeah.
So that would be like my dream.
What needs to happen for you to get there?
Honestly, I need to make $3 million and pay off my house.
Okay.
So if
Well, I'm a big believer in putting it
Yeah.
out there. That's what I'm asking.
So my number,
We're putting it out to the universe now.
my number is 3 million liquid in the bank.
Yeah.
House paid off, cars paid off. So I don't really have any expenses. And off of that, I mean, I could probably get 6 to 7% interest off that, like speaking conservatively.
Yeah.
There's $180,000 to $200,000 a year that's coming in.
Yeah.
And that would be enough to then devote my life to helping other people. And, and the great thing about that is I think it's way harder to make your first million than it is your 15th or your 16th.
You're absolutely right.
So if I got to that point, then there'd be obviously more coming in and more
Yeah.
coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the number that I would need to get to.
Good.
And then my family's safe, we're happy, and then I can really help people.
What's the best way for our audience to find you?
At Bobby Maximus. We're a social media world.
Yeah.
You punch in Bobby Maximus, you'll find me.
What's your favorite platform in terms of social media?
Instagram.
Yeah, mine too.
I love it.
Have you done the Clubhouse business yet?
I've done a little bit of it,
Yeah.
and honestly, it comes down. I'm in a weird bottleneck, and you probably have been through this. We should talk offline about how to get through a bottleneck.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many things going on. I can't do all the things.
Right.
Like, I listen to Dan Fleischman, and I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's also an incredible human being. You got to have Twitter. You got to have Clubhouse. You got to have Snapchat.
Yeah.
I can't do
Right.
all these things.
Right.
I need like help, but I can't pay somebody to help me yet.
Right.
Like I'm
Well,
just,
actually, let's talk through that now because you're making a good point, and a lot of people, thousands of people listening to this, are like, "Oh, he's speaking to me right now."
yeah.
Right? And that's exactly it. So what I would tell you, what Dan would tell you is commit to the one or two platforms that you really love, because when you love it, you're going to do it. And then try and make enough money where you can then find someone, or even on a barter system. You've got knowledge and wisdom that someone else would want, and someone else has the ability to take the content you made on the one or two platforms
And that's what I'm doing now.
and then sharing it.
And at the same token, constantly evaluating myself. Am I really doing what I should be doing right now? Am I as organized? Because it's easy to drink your own Kool-Aid, right? Mm-hmm. It's always easier to help other people than it is help yourself. So I had an hour and a half Uber ride out here. I did all my work. There's no reason. I have to use that time
Right.
better. So one of the things I've instituted recently is putting my time in buckets. What I'm doing this hour, I need to be doing this, this, and this, nothing else. Equally, when I'm hanging out with my kids, I'm hanging out with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I won't answer a text after 8 p.m. anymore.
Batch processing.
Yep. And it's made me a lot more productive.
Yeah. And more present.
Being able to do that. Someone asked me if I wanted to rent a car when I was out here, and I was like, no, because that's time in the Uber is time to do my social.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I pay a little more, but there's a trade-off there. So if I can get that stuff in order, I'm good. And eventually you get to a point you need a Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Right? Like to circle this thing up, where I want to get to the point where I can show up and be Bobby Maximus.
Right.
And everything else is arranged.
Because you've got a
for
Danny
me.
Garcia.
But I've got to work to get there.
Yeah. Good for you, man. Bobby, you're a solid dude. And it's funny, as I get to know you, as we connect, there's not a box that you don't check off in terms of like, okay, I'd hang out with this guy. I'd go break bread with this guy. I'd love to work out with this guy. And that's few and far in between for me. Like I've learned now that I'm 46 that there's a small handful of dudes that I'd want to just hang out with. And that's what this podcast is about. This show's about is literally sitting here in my private gym and having conversations with people that I want to learn more.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you
really
like
give
a bunch of times, like, have we started yet? Because it just kind of,
Yeah, that's exactly how we
just
start.
talk. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So we're about to start now. No, I'm kidding.
You know what I mean? Like, I love that kind of thing versus a contrived, hey, welcome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do. And so the Empire show is that way, but what we do now is we take this show, and that's what we're even doing it here. It's unedited, and we'll put this on YouTube, and then this will also end up being an Empire show. And it's funny because all the BK Strength shows are some of the most popular Empire shows as well. And the Empire show is more kind of at the desk. You've seen the ones where it's like myself or Craig or myself solo or myself and another guest, but it's typically very stiff. And I'm like, you know what? Guests that I really want to connect with and get to know, like we're going to go sit in my gym. We're going to shoot comfortable position. Yeah.
And I actually think the gym is a microcosm for the rest of the world. Like, I think what comes out of, like, because it's BK Strength, like the stuff that comes out of the gym can influence every other area of your life. I think it can make you a better mother, a better father, a better lawyer, a better engineer, a better plumber, a better human. And so I think there's a lot of lessons in here that can apply to business. Now, conversely, the people I learned the most from are not trainers. The people I have learned the most from about training are the managing partner of Deloitte, the guy who is high up at Netflix, the guy who is high up at UPS. Those people have taught me more about being good at what I do than anything. Not trainers.
Why is that?
Because no matter what industry you're in, the best in the world, they have a lot of things in common because it's the same skill set. And so whether it's LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, well, there's 3 athletes, Michael Phelps, another athlete, or it's Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban. I think if you were to make a Venn diagram about their key qualities, it wouldn't even be a Venn diagram anymore. It would be a whole lot of overlapping circles.
Yeah. I would say you're right.
I probably shouldn't say Venn diagram. I don't know how many people know what that is. It's like it's like a chart, you guys.
You're kind of dating yourself, but I get it.
Like
The good news is they can Google it.
Yeah, they can Google what a Venn diagram
Bobby
is.
Maximus said Venn diagram. What is this?
Yeah, I used to have to draw them in math and finite math. But there's.
Were you good at school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, I was awful. Like just awful.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I was blessed with a good memory. And so I can retain stuff really, really well. You know?
Fascinating. At Bobby Maximus.
At Bobby Maximus, I mean, you'll find everything there.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it.